Hello and welcome to another tutorial for Sparkle 5. Now in this tutorial I want to have a look at just plain old simple text, what you can and can't do with it, how fonts work, and everything to do with text. So let's just have a look at this. Here I am in Sparkle, and the very first thing you want to do on a website is probably lay some text down. It might be a title or a block of text. And you literally just click on the text icon in the menu, and Sparkle conveniently puts some text in a box, or at least some squiggles indicating it's a text box. And if you go to the right hand side menu, you've got your text placeholder information. Now instead of squiggles you may want some actual text, and Sparkle kindly gives you the lorem ipsum text to put in. So we've got our text in, and we'll go through onto the right hand side of the panel, and here under fonts you can choose a font, the weight of the font, the size of the font, the tracking of the words, of the letters, the alignment. So you've got all your normal text controls which you would find in any word processing program. Now you can see at the top here above the panel there's a space with the word body in it. Now Sparkle automatically puts the body text in when you first put text in. But because I've changed this text now, it's got a little asterisk next to it which indicates that I've used the body style, but I've changed it. Now I don't want to change it, so I'm going to revert to style, and it puts me back to the original text I loaded. And if you click on body, or in that gap, you have a series of preset text styles which Sparkle have set up for us. And these are fully editable, deletable, or you can add your own. So we'll go back to body, and let's assume that my client has Lato as its default text, and we want to use 18 point as a standard, and we also want it in a dark grey, which is their colour, which is their corporate colour. So we've made some changes, and I can now select the text box and say apply these changes. That will now be my standard body text. Every time I put a text box on the page, it's going to come up in this style. Let's just test that, and we'll put some more text in here. We'll insert some text, and you can see it's in the same font, Lato, 18 point, and dark grey. So that's good. Now let's say we want the first three words as a title. So we could go back up to the preset menu and say, let's say, click on title. And we may want that to be, we'll leave it at 36 point maybe. And we'll make it a lighter grey colour. And we'll leave it left aligned. And so if we click after that, we can now incorporate both styles into one text box. You may or may not want to do that, but it is an option. If I triple click in the text box, it will select the line. If I click 4 times, it will select the whole paragraph. If I just do Command A, it will select everything. Now I may want some space between the title and the body text. So I would say here on the right hand side, space after, and we can just increase that maybe to 20 pixels. Now you may want to put the title in a separate box. It's completely up to you. But Sparkle allows you to mix the presets within a box, which is very handy. And again, in the preset menu up here, it now says multiple. And also under the font. Let's now say that the client has changed the font, and we want to go to a font that isn't listed in our font menu. Now, Sparkle very nicely comes with over 1600 fonts, and if you click the plus button by the side of the font name, you can scroll through all the fonts that Sparkle have given us. See here, there's a green triangle. That means Chinzel is actually switched on. So let's find a title font. We've got to find one we like. Okay, let's make it Jolly Lodger. So we switch it on by clicking it, and we click out of there, and we can highlight the title, and we can say, let's make that Jolly Roger. Okay, and we'll update the change in the title area. Now you can see it's all changed. And again, you can say, well, it's not big enough. Let's go up to 57 point and apply the change again. So every time you make a title, you can apply the change, and it will apply that change right the way through the whole document. Very nice indeed. Okay, so we've got our text selected, and we can select regular, bold, black, whatever's available in that font. Let's go back to the add font, because you may go through all 1600 fonts plus and not find the one you're looking for because it's a client-specific one. So you might want to load your client's fonts onto your system, and here you've got 3 titles: all fonts, system fonts, and custom web fonts. If I go to custom web fonts, I can click open. I can scroll down to my library and my fonts, and I can say I would like to put in a Garamond Pro Bold. How's that? Click OK, and there it appears. So now in our fonts menu, I can go up to Adobe Garamond Pro, and I can again click changes, and my font will always now be in Adobe Garamond Pro. So Sparkle gives you the opportunity to add your own fonts as well. Now, next to this bold, italic and underline, we have this little wheel here. And if we click on the wheel, we get a few different options. So we can say, let's make the text superscript. Now, you will have to make it smaller for superscript, obviously, but it shifts it on the baseline. And similarly for subscript. We'll just put that back to standard. It also allows you to capitalize. So if you want all lowercase or all uppercase, or capitalize, meaning it will give you capitals at the beginning of sentences. We'll leave that off. You can also change the background of the text. Now clearly here it's transparent, but you may want to put a little bit of background on there. That hasn't worked. Why hasn't that worked? Oh, it has worked. I was just highlighting it, that's all. So let's go back to the cog, and we'll make that text the dark grey that it was. And we'll go back to our little wheel, and the text background we may have as orange. Or whatever colour you choose, you can put it on there. That's one way of highlighting some text. It might be a quote, you might want to highlight it. Okay, but let's turn that off for a minute. And we'll put that back to transparent. You've also got strike through text. So you can, I've never known what that's for apart from redaction, but strike through text, it's there. You also got the chance to add a standard soft shadow or a solid shadow. And you can see if I just add a shadow here, and I can blur it more or less, or I can use a solid shadow, and that gives you that pseudo 3D effect on your lettering. Probably best used very carefully, but let's turn that off for now. Okay, moving down, it's the standard alignment, line height, first line indent, space before and after, and the HTML tags are for Google to look at for perhaps people with difficulties in reading. Sparkle will assign these automatically, or you can assign them manually. You can also put in a little bit more text here on a new paragraph. I'll just copy and paste that. And we'll move that down again. And this paragraph here, I would like as a quote, as though someone's speaking those words, and I can literally just click quote. And let's say I want to make a style for quote. I could say, let's go to bold italic and make it quite a bit bigger and maybe center it. I could then come up to my preset area, and rather than apply the changes, otherwise everything will change, I can click on the down arrow and click plus. And here I can just call that quote text, or whatever you want to call it. And that gives me another preset. Now let's perhaps put the quote text in a color. So we'll make it pink. Actually, we'll make it blue. I don't know why. And so now we can apply that change. And every time we have a quote, we'll get that style up. So that's quoting. You also can adjust the inner and outer margins, the left and the right margins, I should say, for quoting, to narrow them or make them wider. Now, let's also say we've got a list 1, a list 2, a list 3, a list 4, missed out 2, but we'll keep going, and a list 5. And let's say you want to actually make that a list. You can highlight them and click the word list here on the right hand side, and it will insert bullet points for you. Now, you don't have to have round circles. You can have any of these shapes on the right, or you can number them any way you like. You can also, if you want perhaps a list of a list, or a hierarchical list where 3 and 4 are part of one, you may want to increase that hierarchy there. And that allows you to indent those a little bit further. So that's a list. Now we've gone through the effects in another video, which is available as well. So I'm going to leave effects out for now, but just so you know, if you want to put an image within text, you can knock out text with a color behind it. You can do all sorts of things, but I'm going to leave that off for now. If your space is tight and, for example, on your web page you've only got space for that window, but you want people to see all the text, you can switch on scrollable. And that then, if I now preview that quickly, that then now gives you a scrollable event. And don't forget to let people know that it is scrollable. Either put some little down arrows or something like that so that they're aware of it. It's back to Sparkle. You can also use text as a button. So for example, if they click on the title and I run over to on click, obviously I can do nothing, or I can go to any one of these options here. I can open a pop-up, I can send an email or go to an external website. There's all sorts of things I can do. So that's the on click button. And then of course you get the scroll effects, which are available to every item, or pretty much every item that you place on the page. So that's really text in a nutshell. There's lots of options open to you. You can do huge amounts with text. You can make graphic text or just plain text. And that's it for this tutorial. I'll see you in the next one.